Atom RPG is, I believe, the Fallout 3 we never got, or as close spiritually to what that game would have been, only set in post-apocalyptic Soviet Russia. So if that sounds like your particular brand of vodka, join me after the call to action for a look into Atom RPG. I know my introductory statement might sound like clickbaity exaggeration, so here's the best way I can describe how Fallout Atom RPG is. In the very first settlement you visit, you can fix a water pump, pick some corn, find a shovel to dig and rob some graves, kill giant wasps, spiders, ants and rats, learn how to dismember said giant wasps, spiders and ants, use the resulting insect guts to fish in a pond, then sell or eat the mutated fish, find the snitch, kill the snitch. There is also a low-key Seven Samurai reference, and one of the guards' names is Yan. To say that Atom RPG is a love letter to the first two Fallout seems insufficient to me. It's more like a super passionate piece of fanfiction homebrew that manages to both honor the source material and also do its own sort of thing. Mechanically speaking, it's built around a very special type stat system, complete with skills and traits, although in Atom these latter ones are called distinctions, a very Soviet style way of doing it indeed, comrade. You have 2 weapon slots, action points, and choices between normal and aimed hits. There are also traits, but these take a different approach, looking more like a trait tree, which goes into various specialization directions. But from this point onwards, Atom RPG starts distancing itself from its inspirations by improving on their features. The minimap available in towns allows for navigation, meaning that you can click on a spot on the map and your character will head that way. The overworld map is very similar to that from the first two Fallouts, but obviously upgraded. It has more detail, it is made with the in-game engine, only you get a bird's eye view of it, and it allows zooming in and out. There are of course random encounters in Atom, but here, depending on who or what you're meeting, they can be avoided in various ways, either by not starting a peaceful one to begin with, trying to run away, or trying to talk your way out of a hostile situation. On the map there are also weather effects, but these don't seem to affect gameplay. One feature Atom has that the older Fallouts would have needed is a crafting system. Crafting stuff from scrounged up materials is a staple of post-apocalyptic fiction, and the fact that it was lacking from the original Fallouts is more due to technical limitations of the time rather than lack of vision. Thankfully, way more stuff is possible nowadays, and Atom takes advantage of modern day capabilities and allows us to craft any number of inventive things, ranging from tire armor to a makeshift air filter to bullets to basic ballistic and melee weapons. This in turn makes dumpster diving incredibly attractive and useful, seeing as how you can find a lot of useful crafting items in them. And it seems that people still throw away useful stuff, which is kinda odd, seeing as how they're in the post-apocalypse. Another feature that makes sense to exist in a post-apocalyptic setting is that of hunger, thirst and radiation. Atom does 2 out of those 3, and instead of thirst there is toxicity, but in order to get rid of that you have to drink water, so it's close enough to thirst. The fact that you have to keep in mind to have enough food on you in order to travel and survive makes the game that much more immersive and realistic. It's especially realistic when you have corn in your inventory, go to a campfire, and the method of choice of cooking the corn is something called mamaliga, which is the equivalent of polenta if you're familiar with the Italian version. It's a type of porridge made from corn flour, and let me tell you, there are few things more Eastern European than that. The inventory system is similar to that from the old Fallouts, but it has 2 columns instead of just 1, and it's considerably easier to work with than its inspiration. Combat itself isn't necessarily difficult, but getting good gear is fairly challenging, and bullets are rare and rather expensive, so I'd suggest you save them for human enemies in general. This is where it really veers off from the original Fallout, when you can start stocking up on weapons and ammo almost from the get-go, which kinda makes sense considering the setting, because in pretty much any other place on this planet except for the US, firearms are an extremely rare sight. And since I just mentioned the setting a few times already, let's dive into the game's writing. Atom's apocalypse starts in 1986, which also happens to be the year of my birth. Coincidence? I think not. We find out from the intro that Michael Jackson alongside 80 million more Americans died, which might seem like an odd choice for us now, but thinking back to the mid-80s, there was no one person more well known all around the globe than Michael Jackson, And to be honest, I'm not sure if this version of events wouldn't have been a better end for him than what happened in our reality. But we find this out from a newspaper, so my thinking is if they had time and resources to print a newspaper about it, this isn't the most apocalyptic of nuclear holocausts possible. The population of the US is estimated to have been around 240 million back in 1986, so they lost about a third of the population. This proportion also being the lowest estimated loss when the plague ran through Europe in the 14th century, and well under the Thanos half. So even when compared with both real and other fictional losses of life, this one is on the lower registers. And this kind of plays into the type of world we have to deal with, because while there are mutants and radioactive pools and all manner of weird shit, the general social framework did not disappear. The damage wasn't all encompassing and complete. Society did not dissolve. The paper ruble is still the currency of the land. There are fairly large settlements as well as solitary farms all around the map, and in these settlements there is some amount of law and order, as well as scientific and less scientific institutions and organizations. In all honesty, with the exception of the radiation related issues, the setting of atomrpg reminds me of Romania for most of the 90s, when we were fresh out of communism, and the change and upheaval brought by that sudden shift of economic policies is hard to quantify with words. But back to the game's writing. This is where obviously it's hard, nigh impossible to reach the heights of Fallout. In part because none of the people working on Atom were Team Kane, but also because I think they were aware of this fact and instead of trying to replicate something they knew they couldn't, did their best to emulate the story structure, quest and dialogue in general and focus on writing what they know. And what they know is being surrounded by corruption, thievery and lies, which I am sad to report are characteristics of the communist system that are still very well embedded into the psyche of people that have lived during those times and have propagated to subsequent generations as well. The writing is only a bit clunky here and there in terms of the use of the English language and such, but in terms of the stories it tells, it can be absurd, weird, dark and a fair amount of goofy. All of which could be used to describe the writing of the first Fallout as well. It's not at that level, of course it's not, nothing really can be, seeing as how Fallout 1 and 2 are products of very particular circumstances and creative humans in a particular time of their lives. But it's really not bad, and rest assured that it is filled to the brim with all manner of pop culture references. Besides the earlier mentioned Seven Samurai reference, you'll find Clockwork Orange references, a very Soviet perspective interpretation of Lord of the Rings, as well as a character with a talking vagina. Which you'd think is just some weird radiation shit, but it is in fact a reference to a bunch of Z-grade movies from the 70s which featured talking vaginas. Yes, there were several of these movies. atomrpg definitely gets my nonsense seal of approval. There's really nothing not to like about the game, especially in its current form. It is highly replayable, there are also mods available, and many places on the net to find tips and tricks on how to access various areas or outcomes. You can find it on Steam or GOG, and it's definitely worth your money and time if you're looking for the Fallout 3 we never got from Interplay. This isn't that, but it's pretty damn close. If the post-apocalyptic theme is something you're keen on, make sure to stop by my post-apocalyptic playlist, which you should see on screen right about now. You won't regret it. Does atomrpg sound like something you'd be interested in? Have you already tried it? Let me know in the comments. I've been Steven Nonsense, thank you very much for watching and or listening, see you next time and have a great rest of the day.